Welcome to the PMI Talk Show, your go-to space for conversations that inspire, educate, and energize the world of project management. Brought to you by PMI Netherlands, we're here to explore big ideas, practical solutions, and the human side of getting things done. Guided by PMI Global's values on innovation and collaboration, we promise to keep it fun, insightful, and full of fresh perspectives. I am Shalini Mansharamani, your host for this journey, and I'm super thrilled to have you on board. So wherever you are and whatever you're doing, join us as we turn challenges into opportunities, one project at a time. Welcome to the PMI Talk Show, Gabriel. You're our second guest for the season, and I'm super happy to have you on this show because you're not only a colleague to me, but also a dear mentor to me. And sometimes also a best friend.
Happy to be here. Thank you very much.
So to our listeners, Gabriel is a civil engineer by background, but also a project management professional, currently working at PwC in the team of competence of portfolio and program management, which falls under operations transformation.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about yourself, Gabriel?
Yeah, so I'm Brazilian, 39 years old, moved to the Netherlands for 7 years now, end of 2017. Started off in civil engineering, like you mentioned, then switched on and off in consulting, but for the past 15 years working with project program management. And it has been my, let's say, profession and passion at the same time. I also did a master's in project management and then several project management certifications, and the most famous one, since we are talking about PMI, the PMP.
The PMP.
Yeah. Also have an MBA and then several other project management certifications that may help contribute to this conversation, I hope.
Wonderful journey.
Yeah.
But you've also worked across different countries.
Indeed.
And you've also worked in different professions, so industry to consulting.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about your journey from studying engineering to becoming a project management consultant?
Yeah, so started off doing infrastructure projects, roads, bridges, sanitation projects, and then I started off in civil engineering, so you would call that, for the sake of our conversation, the functional role.
Functional
right?
role,
Yeah,
yes.
as a civil engineer. But then ended up quickly switching to planning department, so I realized I prefer more the managerial side of things, looking way too much at scope breakdown, scheduling, cost breakdown, cost planning, cost tracking.
Yeah.
So all of that led me to managerial efforts, and then I went to consulting. And from there on, I think I pretty much took project management as the core of my profession, because I also saw huge opportunities there. And that's also what I still see after 15 years in terms of where I believe companies benefit the most and also the biggest improvement gap.
What were the opportunities that you saw back then?
Well, back then was, believe it or not, exactly the ones that I still see today. So maturity gap.
Okay.
So what I usually see when I enter companies is that the practices in project management overall are still very rudimentary, which naturally puts them in a position that they miss out on the benefits. So you would often enter projects and see project management being done in a very, let's say, traditional open up the PowerPoint and have a RAG signal for red, amber, green for scope, schedule, cost.
Is that still the case, or things have changed?
In a lot of places, yeah, that's still the case. And don't get me wrong, sometimes that's exactly what's needed, right?
Yeah.
However, complexity today, size of projects today, importance of projects today, increase in technology, all of that, I think it does require a more robust project management approach, understanding what practices can be applied. So I think I'm going to say the challenges back then are still somewhat the same challenges today. From the perspective of maturity.
Was it easy to make the switch back then from engineering to project management?
I honestly didn't even see it, so it was quite natural. But easy, I don't know how I could put myself in another person's shoes and say if it was easy or not, right? but it was kind of natural because it was what was demanded out of me, right? So then naturally I just ended up sort of seeing myself in the profession and then realizing, okay, I actually want to stay more in this role rather than a functional role. So it was natural for me, that's what I want to say. And also more my inclination, my desire as well.
Can you tell us how the project management profession has evolved in the past few years?
Well, if you take PMI's perspective, right? When I did get my BMP, it was back in 2014. So that's already 11 years, my God. And I did my exam on the 5th edition.
Okay.
Right. So if I were to talk about specifically how PMI has broadcasted project management to the world, they have gotten deeper into a more principle-based approach rather than necessarily processes, understanding that people, even though they do mention in the PMBOK that you should tailor the practices, that it's not prescriptive, people still kept seeing it as prescriptive. So then they changed from the 5th to the 6th to the 7th, and then they're going to do the 8th now, to a more principle-based approach, just getting people to understand the general guidelines so that you can tailor the practices accordingly, right? So, and I think that is a very nice way to demonstrate how the profession has evolved, which is you do not have a magic pill at all.
It's not a prescriptive method. It changes with time.
It's I believe that every project you enter, every industry, every client will always require a tailored approach. So in terms of the profession evolving, I do see project managers benefiting a lot from being equipped with an arsenal of practices so that they can choose from their library what applies to their reality.
So what is included in this arsenal of package?
And then I mean, I think the one-stop shop, since we are talking about PMI, is PMI indeed. However, today out there are one too many methodologies, right? In the course that I provide at PwC, we try to cover principles overlapping amongst PMI, IPMA, Prince2, Lean Six Sigma, which also helps in the mindset and the approach, and Agile. And other than that, there are several other institutions and methodologies based on companies as well that companies developed. So yeah, it's a lot, and I think it's best that people are equipped with as many practice as possible so that they can use and tailor according to what's needed.
So you recommend project management professionals, especially young project management professionals, to really look at what projects they're entering and get tailored accordingly then? And in terms of search and learning approaches, I would definitely say at the very least, because I think that's what people highly misunderstand today, understanding what differentiates a predictive and an adaptive approach, right? So that, for example, unfortunately, I see a lot of people going into Agile and then thinking the Agile solves it all, which in a lot of ways, sometimes it's not even necessary, and the other way around as well. And then that's what the world used to call as waterfall and Agile, but I don't like that approach. I'd rather have them understand that predictive and adaptive and seeing what fits, right? So predictive would be considered as waterfall, and adaptive would be Agile.
With a lot of caveats, right? Because that's what I'm trying to avoid. Because for example, people end up saying, okay, this is waterfall project management, this is Agile project management. No, it's project management, right? And then pay attention to what the client and what the project requires to see whether you benefit from a more predictive approach, a more adaptive approach, or whether a blend of the both. And a very silly example and simple example that you can see straight away when you enter projects is just how much clarity do you have in what you're trying to achieve. If you have a lot of clarity, for example, I've done 10,000 houses, I can do this with my eyes closed, then most likely you're going to benefit from a predictive approach where you plan out the whole project, right? And plan yourself accordingly. So everything that you want to do, you're going to buy materials at this specific point, you're going to benefit from understanding the whole construction phase. Or if you don't have clarity at all, go for the adaptive approach. But complexity of projects today and business requirements from stakeholders, you end up doing hybrid because you can't eliminate the predictiveness because you need some sort of level for business approval. But at the same time, you benefit from the adaptiveness because of the constant change of environments. So
it's also, the adaptiveness is also there because the market trends and demands are changing. The client comes up with requests almost every week, right? Every new request. So.
Too fast, indeed.
Yeah. Okay. And where do you see the biggest challenge in project management lies?
I think understanding what approach to apply, right? Because, for example, if today we look at how complex, put it like this, every knowledge area is a world of knowledge, right?
Every knowledge area
is a world of knowledge, right? You can use the argument that everyone's a project manager, but at the same time, I would love to see the person that can be a project manager and know everything that I've learned about project management in the past 15 years, just like that, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that I've been doing this for 15 years and then I had to take a lot of certifications, understand several different approaches and the whole empirical process of trial and error, seeing what applies, what doesn't apply. And then I talked to a friend of mine who's a financial expert. If I did all of a sudden decide to enter his field, I know that his face is going to be, okay, Gabriel, I've been doing this for 15 years as well. I have the CFA, I have so on. So yeah, out of nowhere, you're going to enter my field, right? I think in terms of understanding and then just making sure that the question is, again,
where the biggest challenge in the project management?
The biggest challenge is getting people to understand the profession, right? Because, for example, a lot of why was I saying that it's very difficult for a person to just be a project manager today? Because it is a profession. You wouldn't out of nowhere enter the financial field saying, hey, I can do everything here, right? Likewise, I don't think today, the projects that we have, a person can just enter and be a project manager because they were very good at doing something functionally, right? Take a civil engineer that understands very well the product, how the house, the bridge, the road. He understands things functionally. But then the complexity today of being a project manager, the amount of languages, and then I can replicate this to several other industries, IT projects, administration projects, or any other type of projects. It's just very cumbersome for people to just assume that they can switch from functional to project management just like that.
It is a career path in its own, right? Project management
as well,
profession. So
as well,
people do tend to undermine that role.
A lot, yeah. Well, not undermine because I think the recognition is there, but I think understanding the profession is the biggest challenge, right?
You have a large audience here, so what would you like to communicate or pass on as a message about the profession itself?
Well, and then when I say understanding the profession, what I would like them to understand is, are they trying to manage the product or the project? Let me give you I can give you two very silly, straightforward examples, right? Today, there's a lot of ERP implementations being done in companies, right? They're trying to integrate legacy systems and then make sure that they're more efficient, right? However, let's say it's Oracle, SAP, Workday, whatever, right? It does require a person that's an expert in
those
technologies, right? However, being an expert in those technologies doesn't mean that the person understands what's the best approach for the project, how to do proper scope breakdown, schedule, costs, and then the whole 10 knowledge areas that we keep playing about, right?
Yeah, so what are the 10 knowledge areas?
I mean, PMI's 6th edition, right?
6th edition, that's what I studied from.
Scope, schedule, costs, resources, quality, risks, stakeholders, procurement, and we're always missing one, right?
Quality we did?
Yeah, I believe so. Integration, scope, schedule, costs, risks, resources, stakeholders, procurement. Oh my. Yeah. But
Please Please tell us in the comments below if you know what knowledge area we're missing.
Yeah, we're always missing one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But indeed, so that's what I'm trying to say. For example, in one of my previous companies, we were trying to do one of these projects, right? ERP implementation, and you could clearly see that everyone understood the product very well. However, there wasn't any clarity on a weekly basis of what to do. There wasn't any clarity on a monthly basis of what to do. And people didn't understand how to differentiate planning and review sessions. And then all of that caused several misalignments, a lot of people bumping heads, several work streams not integrating well with each other. And that's a whole component that, for example, I'm never trying to differentiate the roles, but I am trying to get people to understand from a distinctive perspective what is project management and what is product management, so that they can see what is missing and then reap the benefits of it.
You're trying to bring the calm in the chaos.
No, as well, but I'm
or
trying
structure in chaos, rather.
I'm trying to get them to understand the profession properly, right? Because, for example, if you hire a person as a project manager, but then the person only has functional knowledge, well, are you really trying to hire a project manager, or was it indeed that you only needed a product manager, a person that understood the ERP that you're talking about, right?
So understanding what is required, what are the requirements of the project.
And then the project manager, what I say is understanding the how to get from point A to point B, what's the best approach, right? So that's one of the points that definitely is important to pay attention.
What can companies or project managers do to tackle today's big problems, big challenges?
So continuing this argument that we're providing, I think every company that I enter and every project that I enter, I'm always trying to pay attention if we have 3 components in place that I deem, and then this goes back to the PMI triangle, right? Do projects have people there that understand how to take care of people? And I'm going to call this the leadership component, right?
Yeah.
And do projects today have people that understand how to implement whatever it is that they're trying to implement? And I can call this functional knowledge. And then do projects have people that understand the best approach? And usually this blend right here is what I see giving projects the best odds of achieving the outcome.
So people, I hear process.
Yeah, people, project, function, product.
Product.
Yeah.
So product would be looking at the technicality, so the technical.
Yeah, what's the solution?
Solution. Process would be looking at how best to do project management.
Yep. What's the best approach?
What's the best
in that
approach?
case, with the circumstances in place. Yeah.
And then people would be, what does the leadership bring into this, and how do they manage the people to deliver the work?
Look at projects today, right? Multifunctional, multicultural, multi-environment, several different things. And in one of our projects, we were dealing with, I think, 10 different countries.
Wow.
Right? So a lot of this does require leadership, it does require technical understanding, it does require project management understanding. So
can you tell us more about your project? What is it that you do on a day-to-day basis, and what are the challenges on the day-to-day basis that you need to tackle?
Well, I think I'd like to highlight integration, right?
Integration.
Because it really is something challenging to do. I mean, take the era post-COVID, right? How we're dealing with projects today. A lot of remote work, right? A lot of cross-functional work, because it does require cross-functional knowledge to deliver what we're trying to deliver. We are here in Europe, and specifically in the Netherlands, there's a lot of expats, so it's different cultures as well.
Yeah.
So we are dealing with people that speak different languages, that understand the things differently. So the whole integration part, which is a core knowledge area in PMI and in every single project management approach, right? I think that's one thing that is very tricky and very delightful when you see it being done the right way.
Yeah.
But the right way, when I'm trying to say the right way, is that there's no single way, but you do see it when it works, right? And you also see it when it's not working.
So when you say the right way, do you test multiple ways and then come to the right way?
Oh, testing, I don't think there's much room for that. No,
Yeah.
what does happen, my usual approach is always every project that I enter, I first run a maturity assessment to understand what level of project management maturity the company, the client, the project is in, because then I know what practices to apply. So for example, if the company the project overall has a low maturity understanding of what project management, it doesn't help that much if you bring, for example, a sophisticated advanced tool. That's like giving a bazooka to a little kid, right? It just won't work. So, and this usually happens a lot because people often think, wow, you're gonna bring me some fancy tool and then we're gonna, no, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Right, so, and that's why I think the maturity assessment is very important, because then it makes you understand what kind of practices to apply instead of forcing things that just won't work.
Right. So finding the best approach of doing things with the client. As well
as upskilling them, making them understand project management. Because, like I said, I think it is one of the profession. It is the profession that is most misunderstood, and the one that has most benefits to be obtained from as well.
Okay. Gabriel, you've told me that you worked in several different continents.
Several different, no, not that much.
Well, you've worked in South America, you've worked in Middle East,
and now Europe.
And now Europe. So can you tell me what are the differences in approach of doing project management?
Well, I would say Middle East has a very strong appeal to the human component, right? So I think, because I mean, let's try to map it according to PMI's knowledge areas, right? Because I think that's a good one for people to understand where you take the practices from, right? If I'm saying that Middle East has a strong attachment to the human component, what am I saying? I'm saying that stakeholder management and communications
are the most important chapters.
And are very important ones.
Right.
So if you do a weighted average, right, I'll definitely say pay attention to your communication to stakeholder management, because they are very much prone to that. It doesn't help that much for you to open a huge Excel sheet and show fantastic skills in creating Gantt charts, so doing cost breakdown. That won't
impress them.
Americas, from the colleagues that I worked with in the US and me being a Brazilian, definitely I would say that the triangle, scope, schedule, costs, if you don't have a good grasp on those practices, I think naturally you won't give yourself the best odds of succeeding, because I think they're very strong on that one. And then I would say that here in Europe is somewhat of a middle ground between those two, and I think the European approach has very much to do with cultural fit, right? Aligned visions, values, and so on. So, but I do see an increase of use of project management practices here, right? So, but like I said, everything that you focus on, great, but at the same time, it will also give you understanding what the gaps are, right?
Right.
So I do see, for example, in US and Brazil, more practices towards understanding better scope, schedule, and cost management through earned value management, for example, which for me is fantastic for status reporting, makes life way easier and enriches the analysis of status reporting instead of those traditional slides of red, amber, green. Right?
Yeah. So you would say that the Americas is more mature in their way of adopting project management practices than the rest of the world?
To pinpoint more mature, you would need to do an assessment to be fair, right? But I would say that they're more used to those practices, right? But then if it does influence the outcome, again, to be fair, we need to do analysis, right? But I do see it as, okay, if you're not using this practice, there's a nice improvement gap, right?
Better way to do it, and you need to assess what the better way is and find the right fit.
Yep. Okay. So that would help indeed.
I'm going to come to the Net Project Success Score report that PMI publishes annually. Is there, we're going to show it on the screen to our audience so that they're aware about what we're talking. Do you see major differences in project management in different types of industries, for example?
Definitely. I think, for example, civil engineering, since it's what one could classify as a very much predictive industry, right? You do see a higher level of maturity, and then this is my biased personal experience, as well as standardization, which is really important to increase maturity, because if you do have a standard, you understand what is being used and what are the potential gaps to improve, right? And well, take IT-based industry companies, right? I also see some high level of maturity as well, and I think that reflects in the...
Yes, indeed. So, for example, in the Net Project Success Score, we see that healthcare has a slightly higher chance of success than energy and utilities company.
Okay.
So, and even IT has a slightly higher chance of succeeding than energy and utility. So projects within the IT industry or healthcare industry have a slightly higher chance of reaching the success score.
And I think that could be, that there could be a correlation there into the predictiveness of the service that they do, right? I'll take consulting, for example. Consulting is very varied, right? Because we deal with multiple industry, multiple clients.
Right.
So I think that also is reflected in the outcome.
Indeed.
So because it becomes very hard to standardize the practices, right?
Yeah. So within consulting, the figures indicate that only 31% of projects succeed, with 49% mixed results.
I don't recall the exact numbers, but I do see a strong correlation between industries that have a higher level of predictive of the service that they provide, because then naturally they standardize the practices, right? To industries that deal with too much requirements, uncertainty, and complexity in delivering the projects. So, and then that becomes very difficult to standardize the practices and understand how to improve, right? So that's a correlation that I definitely see.
Okay. And the other thing is, we also see that where the funds for investments of the projects come from also have a significant impact on the success rate of the projects.
Okay.
So, for example, funding coming from non-profit, the project has 63% of succeeding, whereas funding coming from a client or customer has a 49% of success rate.
All right, yeah, but those numbers, I think we would definitely need to dig deeper, right, to understand if there's correlation. Because the mistake would be us saying that it's causation, right?
Yes,
that
indeed.
Because it came from NGO type of funding, it's the cause for higher chances of success. I mean, there could be a correlation, but then we need to understand the causes behind it, right? Which could be several. So in this case, I think it comes more from the perspective of business pressure, I think, which also impacts what you can deem as project success or not. So, but yeah, we definitely need to understand correlation and causation there to be fair to every industry, I think.
Definitely, We need to look at everything from all angles. How is PMI perceived globally?
Well, here in Europe, I think it's still growing to the potential that it can be. I think it is quite big, but it's still, I think it should be a lot bigger in comparison to the Americas, right? Because, for example, if you talk about project management on the other side of the ocean, the Americas, I think everyone only talks about PMI. And then sometimes you get mentions of other approaches. I think Agile grew quite a lot, but then now PMI has also embedded Agile with their partnership with the Agile, with the Agile Consortium. I think the Agile Alliance, they made a partnership, So, and then sometimes you're gonna get here IPMA be mentioned, or even Prince 2. I think here in Europe, it's predominantly Prince 2, at least that's what I see majority of professionals being certified on. But as well, well, I'm a big PMI advocate, so I also push for people to broaden their perspective towards PMI.
Right.
For example, I myself learned Prince 2 because I'm here and I wanted to learn more, right? So I think being open-minded really helps in this case. And well, I can say Middle East for sure, PMI is huge, because everyone that I talked about PMI and the certification PMP, as you did see a lot of colleagues PMP certified as well
in the Middle East.
In the Middle East, yeah. So it is, I do appreciate the efforts that they're making in terms of spreading the profession.
Right.
And I think it's very well perceived. And it is the gold standard for project management, the PMP certification as well.
Yeah, I did my CAPM, so next step would definitely be PMP, or
Congrats.
maybe exploring the Prince 2 world as well. So yeah, since I'm in Europe, so why not?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm always one to say that you're never not going to benefit from gaining knowledge. So.
All right. Gabriel, our audience is curious to hear, what is the future of project management?
Oh, they're curious. Well, future of project management, I think, but definitely you cannot avoid talking about AI, right? And before I do mention AI, I think, and I'm gonna go with at least my very biased perspective, that I think the profession is going to become more and more relevant due to the constant and increased speed of change, which naturally puts me in a position to say, hey, if you have people skilled at delivering certain things by specific deadlines, naturally that puts you in a position to deal with all these changes better, rather than people that don't understand the best practices to get from point A to point B with time constraint. Because per project management definition, right, that's the definition of projects, temporary endeavors.
Yeah.
So I think it's a profession that will increase a lot in terms of the need for it.
Right. So AI and working in time constraints.
And then the AI part is, well, I think the profession will benefit a lot from it, but it is a very much human-based profession. So I would be very cautious, and well, I don't think people need to be scared that much as they are, because there's always too much fear put into those factors. They will take jobs. I mean, as of this point, I do see a lot of enabling you to remove manual tasks, such as meeting notes, logging down actions and so on.
Very much so.
But the whole orchestration, that's very much human-based, right? Because, I mean, every company that you enter, you're dealing with what? You're dealing... the example that I was providing is every project that I go into, I'll end up getting this question, hey, which tool are you using? And then I giving the example, well, let's look at this tool, right? And say, see what it does.
Yeah.
Let's pay attention to the tool.
Yeah.
The tool is not doing anything. By itself. Look at the computer. Is the computer doing anything by itself? No, right? So it's the human component that drives it still, right? And I think that will be the case for a very long time, unless we enter a dystopian reality where robots
have taken over the world. It's crazy analogy to even think about, but
so you should definitely pay attention to AI to learn to be more efficient at what you do, right? However, the human component for project management is just too big right now to be removed. Well, of course, I could not be seeing what they are saying, right? But I find it hard to be the case.
Okay. Where is it that you want to head towards? What does your future look like, Gabriel, in the project management field?
Definitely getting people to understand the profession better, because then I believe that naturally puts them in a position to reap the benefits better. And then naturally that also tells me and this is what I like to do, right? A lot of upskilling, explaining the profession, explaining the practices, how to get the benefits from it. So I think it goes in those lines, and then where it takes me, I honestly have no idea. but somewhere or something that will enable me, because for example I have a strong belief, and this is
Right.
where I almost sound too passionate about the profession.
Please share, we'd love to hear.
I have a strong belief that good,
Yeah.
suitable, well applied, tailored project management creates better societies. Right, because we're talking about deadlines being met, we're talking about services and efforts being delivered, and if you see the efforts that we need to do to solve today's problems, they're all valid, right?
Yeah.
And they all need to be done. However, a lot of them, and even if you take the NPSS score results, are not being met. That naturally means money wasted. That naturally means companies losing money, and that means a lot of people frustrated. So, and the ramifications and consequences of that are several. So, I think us upskilling, understanding better, applying better, achieving better results naturally. For example, we work a lot with ESG projects.
Right.
Those are related to trying to save the world, right? So that's what I'm saying. I think if good project management is done, we're creating better societies.
It reminds me of the PwC value statement
as well.
Solving important problems and building trust in society.
Building trust, yeah. Or the other way around.
Yeah, building trust in society and solving important problems. What is your last question, Gabriel? What is your message to young professionals out there?
Being flexible, I guess, in terms of learning different practices, not getting stuck in one of them, understanding the distinction between functional expertise and project management expertise. Not that you choose one of the two, but rather you see what's been missed, right? And definitely being open-minded in terms of having the memberships. I mean, if the person wants to enter the project management field, right? Become a PMI member. They do have a lot of resources there. Right. You can spend your whole lifetime there learning, and you won't learn everything. That's how complex the world is today. So, and definitely taking on those certifications as well. Not from the part that you need to obtain the paper, but if you put yourself in the process of trying to obtain the certification, naturally you're studying, learning new practices, and the knowledge is the most important part. Right. For example,
keep seeking knowledge.
Keep seeking knowledge, because it's just not enough today. I don't think it will ever be, to be honest.
Very insightful and very thought-provoking as well. Thank you for being here on the PMI Talk Show. I really had a nice conversation with you. Just to summarize, what is it that you want the audience to take away from this episode today?
Try to understand the profession.
It's not too difficult to understand us as project management professionals, but we're also happy to share our knowledge with you. So here we are.
Thank you very much, Aline.
Thank you, Gabriel, for being on the show. And we had a very insightful, engaging, and unfiltered conversation.
We did miss one knowledge area, right? Should we try again?
The audience will guess that.
No. So let's try again.
To our listeners, if you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave us a review in the comment section below. Until next time, stay inspired, stay innovative, and keep making an impact.